Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the ICC Academy Trade Talks podcast. My name is Will Moody and I am your host for this episode. If you don't know already, ICC Academy is the educational arm of the International Chamber of Commerce. And in the spirit of education, this podcast is all about keeping you up to date with the latest trends in the world of international trade, as well as bringing you career tips and advice from senior professionals in the industry. For this episode, and in that vein, we spoke to Houssam Hoteit, Senior Trade Finance Specialist at the Royal Bank of Canada and previously Assistant Vice President in the Global Trade Finance Department at the Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation. Just as importantly, Houssam is also a graduate of our Certified Trade Finance Professional qualification, the CTFP, which you may have heard of. We think you'll love this interview. Houssam was very generous with his answers and there are lots of valuable nuggets to pick up on. So listen on to learn how Houssam went from an internship at Ernst & Young 14 years ago to become a senior trade finance specialist at Canada's biggest bank. It's been quite a journey for him. Houssam's advice for those starting out in trade finance who want to stand out from the crowd. How Houssam continues to learn from every deal he works on, even the simple ones. And finally, also the key traits and skills Houssam looks for when hiring other trade finance professionals. Thank you very much for your time again, Houssam. It was great speaking to you. Let's get straight into the episode. First question is just if you could tell me what your current position is and sort of what that involves on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, so I'm a senior trade finance specialist at the Royal Bank of Canada. The Royal Bank of Canada is Canada's largest bank. And the bank has been nominated for the last 9 years by Global Finance magazine as the best trade finance bank in Canada.
Okay.
So the way we see it, it's an achievement. Maybe you can do it for 2-3 years, but if you're doing it for 9 years, I think, it's a major achievement. On a day-to-day, my main job is to work closely with the Canadian corporates and try to help them structure their finances when it comes to international financing. So whether they're dealing with new markets, they're dealing with new suppliers, new clients, how they have to structure it in order for them to be well protected. And at the same time, if they want to, let's say, improve their cash flow position by using some of their trade finance products, I'm the one who discuss with them and try to help them reshape, if you want, their business.
Okay, great. I had a look at your LinkedIn profile. I noticed you started with an internship at Ernst & Young. It's quite a path you've traveled up until now. If you can you just talk about sort of the journey you've taken to get to the position you are so far?
Yeah. You know what? It's funny because my dad, he's an entrepreneur. He has his business in West Africa and he's not a native, he's not an English speaker. When I was younger, when I was like 14, 15, he didn't even have an email. So he wanted to communicate with the suppliers. He used to come to me, tell me, well, let's say we need the bill of lading. They have to release it. And, as a young kid or a teenager, I was looking at him and trying to understand what are the logistics. I need to know more about that. But at that time, it was like off my mind to do trade finance, and I didn't even know about trade finance. So when I started my studies, I was more into audit. So audit was like the hot topic because I'm originally Lebanese, and audit at that time was like the hot topic in the country. So the first thing I had to my mind, I said, okay, well, let me do an internship in one of the top audit firms, which is Ernst & Young, and let me see how does it look like. And when I finished my 3 months internship, I realized that no, audit is not what I really want. I'm like way different than being an auditor. With my respect to external and internal auditor, it's just a personality and what you really want. And then I started looking at things in a different way. I want banking and I want finance. Okay. So those were the two, not marketing, not management, more banking and finance. So when I graduated, I started working in the credit department for one of the top Lebanese bank. Yeah, so I finished my master's and I had the opportunity to move with their subsidiary to Dubai. But I was like a corporate relationship manager, taking care of the relationship with the largest corporate. And then I've got this opportunity with Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation, SMBC. At that time, when I got the opportunity, a credit analyst in their trade finance department, I was like so hesitant. I said, why am I moving to trade finance? I'm doing corporate banking. I'm good. Why trade finance? So I started with them like maybe for 6 months doing credit reviews, and then automatically one of my managers like gave me the opportunity to become like more a relationship manager to structure these, manage the relationship with financial institutions and corporate. And honestly, this is where I found myself like this is a perfect fit for me. You know why?
Okay.
Because simply I come from a background where I grew up with trade finance and the logistics. And then I've got the opportunity to sit with someone and try to structure a trade finance related product. I was very comfortable doing it and very happy. It's like I used to enjoy, I enjoy doing it whenever I'm sitting with someone.
Okay.
And then I've decided because my family moved to Canada, so I've decided to move to Canada. And right after moving to the country, I was lucky to join RBC, the largest bank in the country, as a senior trade finance specialist.
Great. Okay.
So that's more or less my path.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, each one is different. With SMBC, I've worked more on the financial institution side.
Okay.
With RBC, I'm working closer to the corporates, try to understand their day-to-day needs. So it's two different aspects of trade finance, but both of them are very interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to dig a bit deeper into that. So you said you mentioned there that you enjoy trade finance, you enjoy sitting with people and structuring the deals. Can you just go a bit deeper into that? What is it about sort of that aspect that you particularly like?
Yeah, I'll start from my days at SMBC because I believe this is where I learned trade finance, to be very
Okay.
honest. So what's really impressive about trade finance, each deal is different.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't say, well, there is a golden rule and you have to apply it across the board. That's not true. Each client, each sector has a different structure that you can apply. And that's you can be a trade finance expert, but you know nothing about commodities. You can know more trade finance related to FI, financial institutions. So when I say sitting with people and structuring trade finance deals, it's more like finding the opportunity. And when I used to work with SMBC as a global bank, be connected with everyone across the globe to make this opportunity happen. And here at RBC, the beauty of trade finance is that you have like one of the largest projects in the country happening, and you're taking part of it and you're helping your client achieve it or structure. And each client has a different level of knowledge in terms of trade finance. Some of them are very advanced. When you work with commodity traders, they're super advanced. And when you work with other companies, they really need you on a day to day to help them like structure it item by item.
Okay.
So that's impressive part about trade finance. It's not like a golden rule and you have to apply it.
Yeah.
That's a threshold and you apply it. That's not the case. And the interesting part about it, you can innovate. You can like find new structures to raise liquidity, to help a client. Yeah, the tools are not many, but you can play with them the way you want to achieve what you want.
Okay. So yeah, so it sounds like the variety involved for a start, and the sort of the different deals you might or clients you might work with, and also the innovation aspect of the sort of key things for you. That's yeah, that's great. And then my next question then is just, do you think the path you've taken to reach the position you're in now is quite a common one, or is it been quite unique to you, do you think?
I don't think it's unique.
Okay.
I have to be fair. I think anyone who understands trade finance can achieve it in general. But when you achieve it, uh, excelling in it, that's the important. That's the important. That's what you should have. And let's say at RBC, you can find possibly 15 trade finance specialists.
Okay.
Globally, you may find other people. All of them, I'm pretty sure they did super well when they achieved this position. What's really interesting, the deal that you work on it, all the deals that you work on make the difference. Your name may be linked to a specific deal. It's you. You did it with the institution that you're working for, together did it, or with the help of your team, not yourself alone.
Okay, so do you feel quite a lot of sort of personal responsibility for every deal that you make then?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Because it's not super complicated to find a trade finance individual. You will find. I mean, you know it better than me. I mean, you're interviewing possibly every week a couple
Yeah.
of people in trade finance. All of them, they have different trade, different talent. The interesting part is the institution which is backing you and the deal that you're working on will create the story in the market.
Great. And you mentioned something there that the most important thing was to excel at it. So what advice would you give someone who's kind of, earlier on in their career path about how they can excel at it? What sort of, is there any particular skills or experiences you think they should focus on?
Yeah, I think in terms of trade finance, the basis are to understand the logistic part, the Incoterms. If you don't understand how things work, it's very complicated for you to grow. That's the simple advice. And for even people from, I mean, our level, my advice is to keep reading about the deals. So I go on the magazines that are available online. I read what other multinational banks did because it's a small community and we have to respect each other and learn from each other. So you read about the other deals, you read yeah, so just to stay updated in the market, what's happening. And sometimes what I even do, I call my contacts, my network, try to understand what's the trend here, what's the trend there, what market are popping up now for your business. So just to say, because it's not like, as I said, it's not like you can find everything in a book and you have to apply it. No.
Okay. So it definitely sounds like there's quite a strong community that you can tap into and rely on when you're trying to learn more. So do you think trade finance is the industry is quite sort of cooperative between each other?
I think so. I think if you look at the top banks, just as an example, it's more or less similar to the syndicated business. You will see a large bank arranging the deal and many participants on the secondary market. So, yeah, I mean, based on this, I can say that the top banks, they're collaborating, they're working together, they're sharing the market intelligence. I'm pretty sure that that's happening in the market.
Okay. And have there been any sort of big experiences that you can remember that had a sort of really positive impact on your career? You mentioned sort of, I think it was at SMBC that you really sort of learned trade finance. Are there any other, I mean, maybe you want to talk more about that one, but are there any sort of experiences you can recall that have been quite transformative?
Yeah, I don't want to link it to one specific deal. The way I see it is you learn from every single deal you work on. Just to keep it simple. There is no officer in trade finance who will tell you, I know everything about trade finance. No way. Each one of us is learning on daily basis, and you learn from even sometimes deals which may look super simple, you will still learn. So that's why I referred to SMBC. Of course, that's where I started my career technically in trade finance. But each single deal I've worked on from the days of SMBC till the days of RBC is literally a learning path for me.
Yeah, so it's a continuous learning process. And I guess that's a convenient way to segue onto the CTFP, the Certified Trade Finance Professional, which you took with us. Is there any aspect of that has been particularly beneficial to you passing that certificate?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've been in trade finance for 8 years,
Yeah.
and I wasn't able to find. I mean, if I sit with someone and discuss about trade finance or structuring, definitely this individual will say, "Oh, he knows what he's talking about." But there was no like, how do we say, designation that
Yeah.
can tell the community that this guy achieved something.
Okay.
So that's why I was looking for the CTFP, and I wanted to be sure that I have like a certain weapon in hand that I can link it to my name, and that's it.
Okay. So it's
Yeah,
like a credential to sort of prove your expertise
definitely.
to clients.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Great. That's a common response we hear, so that's good to know. You talked to sort of about I guess, what your favorite part of the job was in terms of sitting down with clients and structuring the deals. Would I be right in saying that's your favorite part?
Well, of course. I mean, I'm usually very excited when I hear that we have a new project that we're working on.
Okay.
I mean, because you will need to consider yourself as the owner of the project and put yourself in the shoe of your client and try to understand each single request that he's putting on the table, because this will allow you to understand what should be done in this project. At the end of the day, believe me, we don't look at the financial reward as a bank, let's say, whether I was at SMBC or at RBC. That's not what we look at. We look at we were able to close it and achieve and make this client happy. And sometimes, if it's a popular deal, the name of the financial institution you're working for will be even in the news that, well, let's say RBC or SMBC or any of the other banks were able to close this deal with company ABC, and this is a major project in the country. So, it makes you happy when you see, well, I was able to help a client achieve.
Yeah.
And that just to open another bracket, what I also do, I do present. We have like at RBC conferences that we prepare on, like, say, on quarterly basis for clients who are willing to launch their international business. So literally what we do, we take the clients by their hand,
Yeah.
and from scratch, we help them draft an export strategy, let's say, and go with the flow. So at the end of the day, when you see one of those clients super like active and he was able to grow his business to a couple of other markets, you would say, well, I'm happy. I'm proud that I was able to participate to assist this company to achieve.
Yeah, that sounds quite rewarding. So that's great. Sort of the flip side, then, what would you say is the most difficult part of your job?
Sometimes time is
Okay.
very challenging. You may have a deadline and you have to finish within a deadline. And sometimes the legal part, the wording of guarantees, let's say, will make things more complicated for you, because you're not working alone.
Mm.
Uh, Within your institution, you have multiple of teams working with you, whether it's credit, risk, legal, etc. At the same time, with the other financial institution, there are other counterparts, and even the client has legal, etc. So all these partners has to sit on the table to find a common ground. And
Yeah.
sometimes time is very challenging, and you have a deadline, and you have to be very tricky how you reformulate sentences or phrases just to make everyone happy within the group of people that you're working with. Other than this, I can say that it's something that I really enjoy doing.
Fantastic. And advice would you give to someone just starting out in trade finance? Is there anything that kind of springs to mind?
Yes, in the last, let's say, if you look at the last 2 decades, we've seen a lot of technology advances in different industries. Trade finances is still an industry where you need to present papers, you need to, so it's the right industry, but make sure if you're starting now, that your goal should not be to just to go with the flow, the way things are. Just have a plan in mind that sometimes at some point of time I need to have an impact or make an impact and start changing this industry, because we as trade finance specialists, our officers, we have a responsibility to help grow this industry and help change it.
Okay.
And as of now, we're not doing it the way it should be done.
Mm.
But I'm pretty sure that in the next possibly 10 years, this will happen,
Okay.
because we have to catch up with the other industries. Otherwise we will be way beyond it. And I think it started now with blockchain and all this.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So you said we're not changing it the way it should be done. What's sort of do you have like a vision for how you think it should be done?
I think, yeah, trade finance should be digitalized for sure.
Okay.
There were a couple of efforts, like maybe 3 decades ago, to make, let's say, bill of ladings, to make them electronic. But all of these efforts were kind of dropped. But now, I mean, because we've seen a massive change when we're talking about blockchain, cryptocurrency, everything the changes are happening so fast
Mm.
that if we don't act now, eventually we're losing it. So yes, I see trade finance and all banks being linked together with the shipping companies, with clients, through softwares being installed on their computer. I'm not sure, but something similar where everything is interconnected. And this will help us move trade finance on another level.
Yeah, I understand. Great. And then my final few questions now. When you're recruiting people or hiring people for your team, are there any specific traits or skills that you look for in particular?
A trade finance officer should be someone with an entrepreneur background.
Okay.
You don't need to be an entrepreneur, but your mind is set to be an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Because whenever you're working on a deal, you have to put yourself at the place of the client. And who knows risk, you know how to evaluate risk, credit risk, or even other type of risk, whether it's currency, documentary, etc. And you're a team player.
Okay.
Those are the three aspects. Whenever you're recruiting someone in trade, you need to look at these three aspects, because those are the key ones which will help you identify the right individuals. I'm not talking about the part related to, let's say, the rules, let's say UCP 600, etc. Those are things that you're gonna learn.
Yeah.
If you start your career, you are obliged to learn it and read it. That's fine. But I'm just talking about like the trait as you mentioned.
Okay, yeah. So it's I don't want to say soft skills, but you're talking sort of the technical skills you can kind of learn on the job, but it's the ability to be a team player, the entrepreneurial attitude. Those are the sort of things that perhaps people wouldn't naturally think of straight away in terms of the skills they need, but they're important for you.
Yeah, of course. I mean, just if you look at my background, I worked in credit, then corporate banking, then trade, FI, then trade on the corporate side. So,
Yeah.
And I have a commercial lending certificate. I have the certificates of trade finance. So, but my path was more or less around the risk, corporate, trade. So this circle. So if you don't even, I think you missed the part when you said that you missed also that you should know how to evaluate risk. It's very important. If you miss which step is risky and which step is not, you don't know how to evaluate your client position.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. Thank you. Other than the CTFP, do you take any other professional development to sort of stay up to date?
Okay, I did the CITP 2 months ago.
Oh,
With
okay.
the fit. Yeah, I finished it. I applied. I got my diploma and my designation. So now I'm a CITP and CTFP.
Great.
The main difference is that one is more focusing on international trade without the finance part, and one is pure finance, supply chain, etc.
Yeah.
So they're kind of they're nice. I'm doing an executive MBA now.
Okay.
So yeah, in sports management because I do like
Okay.
sport. Well,
Yeah,
it's a different field. Yeah, I do like sports, so I decided to do my executive MBA in sports management.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I have a master's in finance.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a degree from McGill University in finance, which is a CFA accredited diploma. I enjoy learning, honestly.
Yeah.
And I mean, whenever I have the opportunity to take another course, I'll do it without being hesitant.
Yeah, sure. Definitely sounds like you're a lifelong learner, so that's good. Okay. Thank you very
Have
much.
a good day. Have a good
Yeah.
day, Will. Thank you.
Yes.
Cheers.